Scott, thanks again for taking the time to speak to me today.
Yeah, no worries.
Ange Postecoglou, how would you, as a neutral observer, describe his style of play?
Well, I don't know if it's fair to describe me as a neutral observer because I've been following his career closely for 15 years. I've been with him at World Cups, been with him at Asian Cups, interviewed him many, many times, know him a little bit off the pitch as well. It's been a curious couple of days, really, for me, for people in Australia, for people in Japan who followed his career and who have seen what he's done, not just the success on paper, but the way that he's created his teams consistently across multiple stops at youth national level, senior national level, various club teams in Australia, club team in Japan, and the Champions League. The guy's record is second to none, and just seeing the reaction of Celtic fans, it's like I don't know, like a kid's been given the best new present at Christmas, and just because they've never heard of it, they somehow don't want it. It's baffling because like I said, I've covered the game. I've covered multiple World Cups, multiple Asian Cups. I've been around some of the best coaches in world football, and in my experience, Ange is up there. I think he's in the top 5 to 10 coaches anywhere in the world. And for you guys to have a coach like this landing on your laps is absolutely spectacular. I was going to say if I was a Celtic fan, but I think after this appointment, I think I will be. All Celtic fans should be absolutely buzzing because you've got a guy who's a tactical innovator. And as I've said before, he's a serial winner. Everywhere he's gone, he's won. He's developed players. He in the couple of years he's been here in Japan, he's completely changed, in my opinion, the way that football's played here. And the J League is one of the world's top leagues. It's nobody's second-rate competition. It's Asia's top competition. There's a lot of excellent foreign players in the league, and there's a lot of brilliant young Japanese players who go into big careers, in Germany, Spain, Belgium, and so on. So it's a breeding ground for talent. It's an incredibly difficult league to win. It's a difficult league to do well in. This year there's 20 teams in the league. There's all a big spread from north to south. You're dealing with weather variations, tactical variations, and for Ange to come here and win such a league in his second year, and not just win it, but the point I'm going to keep referring to is win in the way that they did. And I don't know so deeply as obviously you do about the Celtic and the history of your club, but from what I understand, the fans like football to be played in a certain way, and yes, with an attacking mentality, and 100% that's what you're going to get with Ange, one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best coaches in the world at playing attacking football, where you look to dominate the opposition regardless of status of the opposition, regardless of the moment in a league or a cup, the moments within matches, anything's in the background. He's going to play consistently to dominate games. He's not worried about the opposition teams at all. It's about the way that the team he's in charge of plays, the way he wants them to play, and it's just such a thrilling thing to do. I love. I've got no vested interest in following the club that he coaches, but it's the first thing I turn on every weekend because it's pure entertainment. It's theatre, the way that the team plays. There's going to be goals conceded. There's going to be goals scored. It going into every game. And it's just such an exciting appointment for you guys, man. You should be absolutely thrilled to have a guy like this coming to your club. Yeah,
that's interesting because you touch on there has been a bit of discontent from the Celtic supporters. I think a lot of that is owed to the board and how they've managed things the last 12 months or so. But do you think there is an element of ignorance in that because we don't understand Asian football, the Japanese league, the A-League as well? Do you think that Europe in general has either missed the boat so far with Postecoglou or underestimated him in some way?
Well, it's doubly surprising in the case of Celtic because you had a guy in Shunsuke Nakamura come to your club who, again, I understand has been one of the better imports in recent times. And I imagine that the reaction was probably pretty similar at the same time. Who is this guy coming in from some, I don't know, at that time he was also in Europe, but, in a sense, a similar kind of thing, an unknown player from Japan. But yeah, ignorance is probably a decent word to describe it, because I mean, for me, the other thing is over here, we know Ange in Japan, Australia, right across Asia. He's very well known. But with respect, Eddie Howe is not. I mean, this guy is absolute nobody over here. And to see that apparently, if I was a fan, these would be the questions I would be asking to the board, because I've said it before. I mean, with respect to the guy, who is Eddie Howe and what he's ever achieved in the game? I mean, he's won one title, right? As far as I know, he's won one title. It wasn't even in the senior division of the league. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's won titles with different clubs in Australia in a salary cap environment, which is incredibly hard to operate in. The only difference is coaching. I'm referring to his time in Australia in the A-League. So it's an incredibly hard league to win. During that time, whatever it was now, 8 or 9 years ago, he actually went on a 36-match unbeaten streak in that kind of environment here. And I just can't stress how hard it is to have success in a salary cap environment. It is all down to coaching. Then after that, he's gone to the national team. Not won the group stage games in Brazil, which I was at, but played very, very well against some extremely high-level opposition in Chile, the Netherlands and Spain. Really won plaudits for the way that the team played. Then went back to the pressure of a home Asian Cup for the first time, first Asian Cup title to Australia, again playing very good football. Then comes here to Marinos, which is a huge club, not just in Japan, but in Asia. Gives them their first title in 15 years. Again, just playing absolutely amazing football. Last year was a curious season because of the COVID situation, and the league basically didn't play for 6 months, and then they crammed the whole season into one. So it was Wednesday, Saturday for 6 months. So it was a crazy season. But again, this year they're back playing really good football, and with games in hand. If they win, they're only 3 points off the top. So everywhere he's gone, he's won, and to consider a guy like that, who's apparently a second choice behind a guy who's only ever in his career won one title, not even a title at the top league in a nation, is weird. I mean, it's just, there's no way to describe it. It's weird. I mean, we're not talking about, I don't know, Dundee or some other club, right? We're talking about Celtic. So you guys want the best of the best. So you shouldn't be satisfied with having a guy who's won one title, not even at a major level in his career. And you've got this guy who's won, youth national titles, senior national titles, domestic titles with different clubs in one league, domestic title with another club in another league where he doesn't speak the language as well in Japan. So doing that in in his case, through a translator, is even harder. So I mean, the stuff that the guy's done, and I keep coming back to the point, it's not just the numbers and the titles, it's the way that they've been won. So if you're a Celtic fan, what more could you possibly ask for? A guy who has a 20-year proven success record and has developed, with the national team with Australia, he basically had to usher out the entire previous generation, Kuhl, Viduka, all these kind of guys, and he's brought through a new generation of players who probably aren't as talented as the previous one, and he's still gone and won the Asian Cup, with a team in transition, and whilst all the time remaining consistent to the message, which is we are going to dominate games, we are going to play the way we want to play, we will never back down. The game is about entertainment. The game is about bringing joy to spectators, and if we do that well, then we'll win.
I actually listened to a Mastermind podcast interview with him, and he talked about how he has to do his team talks through 3 or 4 different translators at Yokohama because of the Japanese players, the Brazilian players.
As a Thai player, there's and
that does really hit. In fact, the point he was making was that his communication has to be so clear. Because it has to go through those channels. One admission that he did make in that interview was that because his style of play is pretty radical, pretty progressive, it can sometimes take 6 months, 12 months even for everyone to buy in and for it to click. Celtic obviously have this big rebuild period coming up. Do you think we will have to be patient if he comes in?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because the word you use, revolutionary, is very good, because the way he plays, any coach can come in, can organize a team defensively, can have them hard to beat, to break down. And from what I understand, the standard in Scotland, there's a gap between, let's say, Rangers and Celtic and the rest. So, any coach who wants to come in and just play for points can come in and get the points. And then it comes down to the couple of games with Rangers or the European games. So anybody can do that. You can pick 100 coaches to do this kind of thing. But if you want to set yourself up for 6 years, for 10 years of success, and success, as I said, the way I understand it, that Celtic fans want to play, then you couldn't have got a better guy than Ange. I mean, Bielsa is busy and Guardiola is busy, so why not get the number 3, the guy between him? But you've seen it. I mean, really, he's cut from the same cloth as these kind of guys. I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. Obviously, the team now, Marinos, is part of the City football group. So before the pandemic, City came out to play a friendly game, and after that game, Guardiola came up to Ange and he said, "Thank you." He said, "You play the kind of football that I dream of playing," which is a very good indication of what you're going to get. But you've seen it. You've seen it with Guardiola in different sense. You saw it with Bielsa when he went to Leeds, that it took time. I think Ange can work with the players that are there, but the players will need to work with Ange. And it's that kind of transition phase that both, the club, the supporters, the players and Ange and his staff will need to get to grips with, because there will be teething problems at first, because that's the way that he wants to play. And I'm sure the board made this appointment with that in mind. If they wanted someone just to come in and try and beat Rangers 1-0 and walk their way through the rest of the league, they could have got someone else. But this was not, they're not just throwing darts around and landing on this guy. I mean, they've targeted this guy because of the kind of football that he plays. They would have done their research and seen in every stint that he's had, it has taken time, and that is the reality. And the message I want to try and give to the fans is just to beg them to be patient, because you're going to need to get through a little bit of pain at first. And it may not be pretty at times, because the way he plays, again, I haven't watched Celtic closely, but they play with a very high line. It's crucial that the goalkeeper can play out from the back. If you look at the way that his teams play, particularly when he first took over here at Yokohama, I mean, you were having the keeper in the opposition half for most of the game, right? He's tempered things a little bit now, but it's an incredibly bold, incredibly aggressive way of playing. And there has to be complete commitment from the playing group and complete belief and buy-in to not waver for a moment. And it's difficult to do because it's dangerous football. It's risky football. But once it's bedded in, it's some of the most attractive football you're going to see anywhere in the world. And once things click and get into place, then you're humming. It's just tweaks and players coming in with who can create individual moments and things. But once the basic ideology is grasped by the playing group, and I've got to be clear, if it's not grasped by players, they won't be there. He doesn't have any time for reputation, for history at the club, none of this thing. What he wants is to create an ideology that the fans can be proud of. And he wants to create history everywhere he's gone, and I know that this will be the case with Celtic as well. He's obviously Greek Australian. I know he follows a lot of European football very closely, and this is the area that he's wanted to prove himself in. And he's had other offers, other clubs have been looking and have been calling, but he's been waiting for the right moment to go. So Celtic fans should be thrilled that, as much as Celtic have identified him, that he's identified them as well. It's not 100% across the line. My understanding is it's 90% across the line. There are people people in Australia questioning whether it's the right move for him, whether he should, I mean, some people view it as taking a step backwards from where he is now, competing in the top league in Asia, a very competitive league, going into a league where, you have only a handful of games in a season to define the title. Is that the right kind of move for a coach of this stature? But my understanding is that he's obviously sees a Celtic as a big club, as a historic club, and I'm sure his ambitions are not just to win one league title or stick around and win the 10 that everyone wants, but what he wants to do is bring success in Europe as well, and that I'm sure that will be a burning ambition, and do it as he's always done, playing the kind of football that will make Celtic fans happy. The kind of football I understand in whenever it was in the 60s when you beat what was it, Inter in that. Yeah, with that kind of squad playing that kind of football. This is what he wants to do. If there's a 16-year-old kids in the youth academy that he spots in training with something that can add to the team, they'll be in the team the next week. There's no hesitation. Like I said, reputation, age, experience, anything like this, none of it is important. What he wants is 11 players to start, substitutes, and a squad to help in training. And every person that will be there in 6 months or 12 months from now will be completely on board with the way he wants to play and driven to play that way. Because as a player, you want to play this kind of football as well, right? As fans, journalists, we want to watch this kind of football. Players love to play this kind of football as well, when you just you look to humiliate the opposition, you look to dominate, and I mean, what I'm saying is that the ideology has been the same, but within that there's been tactical tweaks and variations year to year, moment to moment, within season, game to game. But the thing that underpins it all is to dominate, is to be aggressive, is to attack. I mean, I can't ever imagine if there was a situation where, you're 1-0 up and a player has gone into the corner flag trying to run the clock down. That player won't be playing next week. No way, he doesn't stand for it. If you're 1-0 up and it's the final of the Champions League, you go and you try and get yourself 2-0 up. You never, never, never step backwards, and you never stop playing. Never. Never. And this is what you're getting. Like it's didactic, the approach, but yeah, man, it's just so entertaining, and it's such great football to watch. And I know that's what he wants. He wants to play this way. And the thing he consistently says is, if we play this way, we'll win, because we play with the ball. And if we have the ball, no one can get it. No one can beat us. Yeah. If we're going to score, okay, we're going to score too. We are going to be the team that sets the agenda in every single game we play. And the thing for me, looking, again, I profess not to be an expert, but I imagine that there's a lot of teams in Scotland when they play the so-called Big Two, that they play, let's say, negative football, where they sit back and look to close them down and play on the counter. So the good thing about Ange is that 75% of the league here play the same way when they play Marinos. You've got 10 players behind the ball. So he's used to these environments and these kind of situations where you need to remain patient. They score a lot of late goals in games because they just wear teams out. And as much as the challenge seems to be coming in and beating Rangers or doing well in Europe, it's also very difficult to beat these kind of reactive teams. So he's got decades of experience in this kind of thing as well. So if I was a Celtic fan, I couldn't imagine a better appointment.
I'm excited listening to you here. Being involved with Celtic or Rangers, for that matter, is often referred to as the Glasgow Goldfish Bowl, because of the intense media scrutiny and the scrutiny from supporters as well. Having dealt with him and interviewed him over the years, how do you think he would deal with that sort of intense media scrutiny that happens in Scotland?
Yeah, it's perhaps different, but you have to remember that Ange grew up as a player, and at the start of his coaching career in what was the older National League in Australia, which was one based predominantly around clubs with certain ties to various communities. So being Greek Australian, if you want to go onto YouTube and search out some of these, derby matches from the late 90s and so on in the old National Soccer League, I mean, you were talking extreme crowd behaviour, the pitch invasions, all this. I mean, he's used to perhaps not the level. I understand what you're saying in Scotland, but he's no wallflower. I mean, he's been through all sorts of things. He's taken, qualifying the national team for the World Cup in Russia through all sorts of incredibly harsh environments. The same at various club level as well. So, okay, maybe the daily scrutiny, the daily intensity he hasn't experienced, but this is a vastly experienced coach, 20 years, and he's been there and seen pretty much everything you can in football through either club teams, or the national team, even the youth national teams. Trying to qualify for some of these tournaments is an incredibly hostile experience. And he believes in what he does. He's forthright. He can be engaging. But honestly, I don't think really the outside noise is going to bother him, because he doesn't need to question internally what he's doing, because he knows it's successful, and it's been successful for 20 years. There will be that period, perhaps early on, where things aren't going. The fans that wanted one thing, or they didn't want this, or they didn't understand this appointment. It's going to be easy to pile on during that transition phase. But the thing is, I just ask the fans, just beg the fans to be patient, and look at some of the football that his teams have played, because that's what you're going to get. It may take 6 weeks, it may take 6 months, but when it gets there, it's there, and then it's there for years, and you just need to add little pieces of sugar on top of it to change it. But once the basic philosophy is in place, you'll be unbeatable. The challenge then you're going to have is keeping him at the club. When teams from wherever, from Spain or the Premier League, come knocking. But he's a loyal guy. He's a guy that wants to do well for clubs and for fans wherever he is. So get through the bedding in process, and the results will come, and just as importantly, the style will come. And he wants fans to come home. Or I don't know the situation with Corona and whatnot, but once that's all done, full houses at home, traveling supporters in Europe, whether it's a cup game, whether it's a league game, the fans being there supporting the team, and he wants to entertain people. He wants people to be happy and to watch football with a smile on their face. And he's got an unbelievable record of being able to get every single team he's had to do it. He's not failed once, anywhere, at any level. How many coaches in the world you can say over a 20-year career, different countries, different clubs, national level, junior, everywhere he's gone, he's done it. Everywhere. I don't know if you could name too many coaches in the world who've done this.
Yeah, absolutely. I have just one final question for you before I let you go. Another reservation that Celtic supporters have, again, from previous appointments, is that we end up with a manager who is a quote-unquote yes man in charge, in terms of accepting the board's parameters, or not being very demanding of the board in terms of budgets and staff and football structure and stuff like that. Things seem to point to Postecoglou being different to that. Would you describe that as accurate?
Absolutely. Yeah. He's nobody's yes man. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, absolutely not, because he's not coming into a club to be told what to do. I mean, he doesn't take these kind of jobs. I mean, and clubs that appoint him don't appoint him for that reason. That's why, I understand there's a lot of people questioning the board if they know what they're doing, but you don't make a kind of appointment like this if you don't. I mean, nobody's going skydiving with a fear of heights, thinking, you know what you're doing when you get into it, right? Like, you appoint a guy like this, you're doing it for specific reasons, and he's accepting a job like this because his ideology, his vision of how the game wants to be played is completely married to the club. I don't know what went on with the negotiations, but obviously both sides have agreed that, he's not coming in to suddenly play a different kind of football he's done for 20 years. Celtic appointed him for specific reasons because of the way he plays. He took this job when he could have taken others because the club wants him to play the way that he's had his teams playing. And I'm assuming if you're in the Celtic board, you want to bring, after a difficult year, you want to bring not just success back to the club, but you want to bring the smiles back on the faces of supporters. You want supporters to be gathering in cafes and bars and talking about the game and talking about the excitement and talking about the goals and the chances and the aggression of the football. This is the kind of thing that people, when his teams play, we talk about it. Not just the game, but you're talking about it, this and this and this. And there's going to be challenges defensively, but going forward, they're going to be absolutely thrilling to watch.
Yeah. Sorry, just one final one. I don't suppose you have any idea on timeline, and there's a lot of talk about this UEFA Pro license stuff and anything. Do you expect there to be any hold-ups?
From what I think, it should be within a week, hopefully. There's obviously the primary issue is he's under contract at a club here who are pushing to win the title this year, and with something that he's built for years. So they don't want to let him go. My understanding is that there's a buyout in the contract, so that shouldn't be an issue. And obviously, he has the top coaching qualifications within Asia, which there are reciprocal arrangements with UEFA. With those, my understanding of the process is it's already underway, that a request was made from the Scottish FA through to UEFA just to get those qualifications recognised. I mean, this is a guy that's coached at a World Cup. He's qualified a team for a World Cup. He's won a Continental. I mean, he's not, Joe off the street. So it's just a question of getting that paperwork, just formalised by UEFA, getting the release here, formalised with a coach in place to take over. It could take a week. It's a little bit of the league's on a hiatus here at the moment. There are cup games, though, that the club's involved in. They've got 3 cup games over the next week and a half. So I suspect that he'll probably stick around and do those to try and get the team here nicely set up in terms of getting through to the next round of the cups. And then, within a week or 2 weeks, it should be ready to go into pre-season, into those European qualifiers. And then, let the fun times begin.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of time. We don't have a lot of time at all. Scott, thank you. That was really insightful. I really appreciate your time. Thanks, man.